We justify ourselves by degrees, do we not? I am more generous than another. I am richer than another. I am poorer than another. I'm more barbaric. They're more barbaric. Well, at least I'm not as bad as he. Well, at least I didn't do what she did. So we judge each other by a standard of degrees, a measure against something either greater than us or lesser than us. But we never seem to come to terms with judging ourselves by the measure which God has set for us, because we somehow feel in terms that we cannot reach that measure. We see God as out of reach. And when we see God as out of reach, well, there's no reason to attempt what he tells us to reach for, because that's out of reach. And then we have terms like, well, only God is perfect. Well, only God could love that. So it frees us and it gives us an excuse, an explanation and an excuse. It explains why I'm less. It explains why I give less. It explains why I'm not as charitable. It explains why I can hold something against you and not as forgivable. It explains why I'm not as merciful. And it can justify why I'm so brutal. And it can justify why I'm so mean. And it can justify why I'm so unkind. Because I have a different measure now. And the measure is not as God instructs me, but how I instruct me, compared to you, of course. Well, at least I didn't do what he did. And it feeds itself, and it becomes a propulsion of ever repetitive and ever increasingly bad acts. And it gets you on a merry-go-round, which is why we see, well, grandma did that, granddad did that, dad did that, and we repeat it. Because we're using the wrong measure. Well, I can't do that. Well, I'm not smart. And we excuse and give ourselves a pass. And when we do achieve anything, well, we become more greedy and we become more brutal. But I'm not as brutal. We become more greedy, but at least I'm not as greedy. And perhaps we do not recognize the need for change. But why would we recognize a need for change? We don't even recognize a God that can change, that can help and assist us. We become disappointed and unmotivated, disengaged. We become sad. And we give up and we give in. Because after all, God is unachievable. Unless, of course, you have a religion that teaches you you can achieve God status and you can write the rules and make the rules. And then you have the problem of invoking God's name into a doctrine and saying God said when he didn't. And saying God said do when he didn't. And God said go when he didn't. And God said kill you when he didn't. And God said marry you when he didn't. So we create a God in our consciousness to give us permission and license to do to you what we want to do and to do to and for ourselves what we want to do. We create our own delusion, and not the least of which is nonetheless with the aid of the spiritual adversary, those entities, those spirit beings that come alongside our delusional mind and feeds into what's already there. You have a lot of things that are just already innately in you. And with the right person, they will egg you on. You already had it in you. You just didn't have the gumption, the courage, the chutzpah to get it done. But if you get around the right person, they go, come on, you can do it. All right, I'll do it. And you get the motivation to give your inspiration the courage, the boldness, the feet, the hands, to escape that boundary that you put around it in your own mind and in your own spirit, to actually now do that thing. Not everybody needs an external force to get that internal negative energy out, but most do. Some are able to bring it out themselves if they sit quietly long enough, festering, meandering, constantly repeating, and they work themselves up and rev their own engine up and become combustible without any help. But most need help. And the ones that can do it without any help go on to incite others. And that person is charismatic, is gifted. They really can come along and plant bad seeds in other people's minds and encourage more than one, a crowd even, a mob, an entire nation to join them. Because they realize that you have that somewhere. Yeah, I do feel that too. But you got it under control. Or you don't have the courage to be that evil. You just need a little push over the cliff. The proverbial cliff of debauchery, of hatred, of greed, of stinginess, of murder, of deception. And as long as birds of a feather, enough can flock together with the right one leading the flock, then you become a horde. Marauding through the land with your chief at the helm, revving you up and allowing you the freedom to be as bad as you want to be, as greedy as you want to be. And it becomes unchecked individualism. We're a combination of it all. Individualism, community, national, social, familial, tribal, and personal, individual. Because from the individual gives birth and feeds into all of the familial, the tribe, communal, the community, the social, the national, the global. I want to change the world. Well, you have to start with yourself. And then you have to start with your family and friends and your tribe, your people, your ethnicity, your group, and then your social interactions around you, then your national identity, and then your global. You can't reverse engineer that. It has to have a beginning point. But it first has to start with me. It's me. And I have to deal with my own brutality, my own greed, my own charity before I can point the finger at you. But I've got to deal with my own. And as I'm dealing with my own, then I can share with you. And as I share with you, I can share with my family, my kinsmen, my group, my community, my nation, then the world. But you have to understand that we have a nature within us that fights against being that best nature that was the original design for us. And the Torah and Yeshua, they come alongside as two branches in the human race to give direction, guidance, ability, and power to achieve God's highest expectations for us, until ultimately those two branches are fused together in the millennial kingdom at the coming of the Mashiach for world control and domination, when he establishes the earthly kingdom under his rule. But until then, we're on a journey. And we have to keep those two branches in our lives. Torah is so important because Yeshua embodies it. He doesn't make you skip it. He embodies it and helps you to fulfill it. He didn't abolish it. He empowered it, infused it, so it would be alive in our lives. Something to think about.